So hello, I'm Shane Rasmussen with the Louisiana Folklife Center at NSU, and today I'm representing the Louisiana Folklife Commission and the Louisiana Folklife Society as your Folklife Ambassador for Louisiana Folklife Month 2016. As you may know, the Lieutenant Governor has declared October to be Folklife Month in Louisiana, to celebrate our diverse and rich traditions in this state, and we've got a lot of them. And so Louisiana Folklife Month is a project of the Louisiana Folklife Commission in collaboration with the Louisiana Folklife Society to recognize the rich diversity of Louisiana's living traditions and those who sustain them. And on that note, on behalf of Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, I would like to recognize Mr. Ed Huey as a Louisiana tradition bearer and express gratitude for his dedication to the blues as well as to folk music education, which he is a tireless proponent. Ed is a retired music educator, former instructor at Baylor School. He's not retired. I can't believe exactly. He's always at the National Park, or he's been at the Folk Festival several times. In fact, he's going to be our honorary chair at this next year's Folk Festival in 2017. And this year, we had two packed harmonica workshops at the festival this year, and that's what Ed does, and he does that because he wants to share his culture. He's a former instructor at Baylor School in Chattanooga. He's been twice honored by the Tennessee Governor's School for the Arts as an outstanding music educator. A 1982 Lyndhurst Foundation grant recipient, Ed gathered field recordings of Mississippi bluesmen. Ed performs and teaches American roots music, specializing in early blues guitar and harmonica styles. As you will see, his highly interactive sets and workshops include work songs, field hollers, handbone, Piedmont blues, Delta blues, jug band, hokum, and railroad songs. So on behalf of the state of Louisiana and Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, this is an official recognition of yourself as a Louisiana tradition bearer.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your devotion, your persistence, your steadfastness, and your talent, and the way you develop that talent, and your commitment to traditional culture. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We also want to thank the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum. Let's talk about you deciding to become a blues man. When was that decision made? And I believe there's probably one experience. You were telling me about a fantastic experience where you saw this fellow playing the blues and you knew it was something that you had to do.
Yeah, I've pretty much always played guitar nearly all my whole life. And so when we moved to Chattanooga, there weren't as many places to play because I was busy doing other things, teaching school mainly, and trying to make a living doing that, and wrangling a couple of teenagers. If you had teenagers, you know whereof I speak. And so I went to the Riverbend Festival, Bessie Smith Strut. And this is down what used to be 9th Street. They used to call it Big Nine, and that was where people gathered on Saturday that was the African American epicenter on Saturday. And on 9th Street, right down by the Blue Goose Bridge, is where Bessie Smith was born. And so I went to a stage that was right underneath that bridge, and on that stage was John Hammond, Jr. I don't know if y'all know John, but John was there. I had a 40-ounce malt liquor, because that's what you're supposed to do with the blues. And John Hammond was I'm sorry that we can't do that statement, but maybe we might go to Manjo. So I'm looking up at the stage, and there's John Hammond, who has always been one of my heroes. And he was sitting on a stool with the microphone like this, and he had his guitar in his lap, and he had a microphone wrapped around his neck and a harmonica. And he was beating his foot on the flatbed trailer truck, and he was wearing the audience out. I mean, he was laying it down in places people didn't even have places. And I looked at that, and I watched an hour and a half set. And he changed that resonator guitar, and he changed back to that Martin guitar, and he played slide guitar, and he played this, and he played that. And when I got home, I told Sharon, I said, baby, I'm getting strings for all my guitars, and I'm getting new harmonicas. And that was it. That was in the 80s, probably 83, something like that. And so that began my odyssey of being really serious about playing guitar, being a bluesman. I mean, I didn't think anybody really wanted to hear it, and I found out that was not exactly correct.
Was the blues something you like to play or need to play?
Yes. Well, everybody is moved and is emotionally attached to different kinds of music. For some people, it's classical music that just floats your boat, and so you have to listen to that. And some people have to listen to 1950s rock because that's what does it for them. Some people have to listen to punk. Some people have to listen to rap, whatever your passion happens to be. The first time that I really heard blues, I heard it when I was growing up on the radio. My sister, who was here with her husband, Suzanne, and I used to come in the middle of the afternoon, and this was when the polio scare was happening. And you had to come in from noon till 2, because that was when polio walked up and down the streets and grabbed children off the streets. I'm not making fun of that, I'm just saying that was what it believed at that time. So we laid down on the nice tile floor, probably asbestos tile. That's why I look like I do. I'm actually 25 years old. Asbestos will do that to you. So we laid on the asbestos tile and we listened to the radios, big behemoth radio we had folded out. And we heard every kind of music you could imagine, and I would sneak it over to the black radio stations in Shreveport. That was
KWKH.
well,
No,
KWKH played stuff. Yeah, it was that, and I can't remember what the other was. They were these really hip DJs. This is Dr. So-and-so. This is the next I don't dial. My number will slumber. I need your love like hot dog in bun. Dr. Backbone Quitting is the one can make you feel better. Do you have lazy blood? That's why I'm like I am today. I heard the blues then. When I came to college, I was playing folk music. With the Kingston Trio shirts on and doing bun-wee-wah, 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 oh. Music major, and the boys figured out we could get more girls singing than we could, just looking good. So we began to sing and play that kind of stuff. And so one of my friends, Henry Joyner, right down the hall from where I lived in West Casbury, said, we were in his room and he pulled out this Leadbelly box set that had the red cover on it. You may have seen that. And I believe, now that I think about it, it may have been red vinyl. These are Library of Congress recordings that Leadbelly did. And he played that, and I said, man, what is that? He said, that's real folk music. Okay, I stand corrected. And I listened to it, and I knew that I had to play that. I don't know. And how do you learn how to play that? You have to learn how to play guitar like that person. You can't just strum like you would do if that kind of jump the Odyssey off of the station.
Yeah, but you knew you had to play that music.
I can go back a lot further than that because I don't know if my sister remembers or not, but my grandmother lived on Wells Island Road in Shreveport, out by the airport. And at Wells Island Road, across the road from where she lived, were fields, and they were cotton fields. And people worked in those fields, and people sang in those fields. And you sit on your grandmother's front porch and listen to that, and you think, there's something else besides what I'm plugged into. I was 6 or 7, something like that. Life-changing experiences.
This reminds me exactly of what B.B. King said. The blues was bleeding the same blood as me.
I sure wasn't picking any cotton, but I liked what I was hearing.
Well, you identified with it.
I did identify with it. Now that's strange, I can't be that, but I understand the music and I understand the style. Style is, I was thinking about this, I knew we were going to talk, and I was thinking about being in graduate school, being a choir director in high school. I always wanted my choirs to do, on any given program, to do something from every period of classical music history. So there would be an automatic 4 or 5 songs in the program. And then something that was American and something that was world music, and that's the kind of programs we did. And every one of those was a style. And you learn how to interpret those styles, and that's what you give to your students. And that's what That's what you do. And then when I found out about the blues and really started getting into it, you know, you listen to that folk music and you find out that that folk song actually came from somewhere else. And those guys are just singing that, looking like the Kingston Trio. You turn the book back one chapter and look in that chapter and see what's actually in that chapter. And you find out there's another chapter before that one and another one before that one. Pretty soon you're listening to the earliest things that were recorded in America when in the 20s when they began to record music.
But it strikes me as important that, you know, that oral tradition is what you tapped into. You heard those records, you loved it, it spoke to you, but you didn't have to play it until you saw somebody live.
Well, the most important thing that you can give your students, in my opinion, or the most important thing you can give anybody with who you are, is to introduce to them new possibilities. If you give them new possibilities, then all of a sudden the world is open to you. You say, "Oh my, you mean that can actually be done?"
So the blues gives you a different way to express that which could not be expressed without it.
Absolutely. Everybody can't do it.
Right.
And a lot of people do it that shouldn't. And I might be one of them. But I can tell you this, that I've never played any kind of music as a performer that moved me like this. I identify with the music. I don't ever sing a song I don't really like, and I don't sing one that I can't identify with.
Yeah, yeah. You know, you talk about style, but also it's this function, it's this sense of where the blues comes from because it has to, right?
Yeah.
And you know, you talked about work colors and this kind of thing, and certainly it comes from being oppressed, it comes from being impoverished, but it's like the late great Amy Winehouse said, every bad situation is a blues song waiting to happen.
Well, that's true. But the other thing you must remember is that this music, even though it was recorded,
Yeah.
this was popular music. You can look. I just finished reading a book that talked about that, and this guy documented. It was in Stephen Calt is the folklorist, and he went back and documented what was popular and playing on the jukebox at the time that Robert Johnson was alive, and people of that ilk. You know, these guys, most of them were, even if they did record, they were only popular in a small area, maybe a 30-mile area. Whereas you take somebody like Bumblebee Slim, Amos Eastman, had recorded 127 sides. Well, they don't record sides just because they don't have anything to do. They record sides because people ask for that again and they put them on the jukeboxes. And Amos Easton is just one of many. All the classical blues women that recorded, it was dance music. Remember that if you lived in the country, had no electricity, and you went to somebody's house and you were going to have a party, then somebody would have to play the music. Unless you had a wind-up Victrola or gramophone, or they call them all kinds of different things. And then you had to have a different variety of records. Well, you could hire somebody, pay them a few bucks, and feed them a fish sandwich or whatever, and have them play for that. And then, dare I say it, White Lightning. Fill them up with that and let them play, and then they could play all night long, and you got to play something slow, something fast, something to do the slow drag to, and something you do the Charleston to. And so that's what these guys did.
I'm not surprised you mentioned Robert Johnson. I mean, you've got a lot of songs of his in your repertoire, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
What's one you want to play for us?
Funny you should ask that. I know I probably don't need to plug this with him. This is one of those. This is a resonator guitar. I know you're going to ask. I got accused of breaking into the kitchen over here at Maglio's and stealing pots and pans and those wooden spoons to make this, but I didn't make it. Oh Lord! Metal. Okay, and underneath this covered here, if you come and look at it, I want you to look when we get finished. You can look through here and you can see that there's a metal pan underneath this, come and spun, and it's like a salad bowl that has a foot on it. And then this biscuit right here sits on that foot. I mean, you might need amplification and you might not. All right, and you got to play harmonica. You don't have to, but you can. And that's another thing that I really like the instrument. And so I decided I really want to learn how to play it instead of just be annoying with it. I mean, this might be annoying to you, I don't know. I know some of you I know, but I don't think you would be annoyed. You could be. This is one of Robert Johnson's big hits called Kind-Hearted Woman. This is in Delta style, and in that it has a bass that keeps going the whole time. So when you are a solo performer, you got to keep the bass going. And I do that with my thumb, like a piano player would use his or her left hand. And then I use my fingers, my right hand, to play the other notes to fit in with it. Because you can dance to that, I reckon. Hear that? That's the heartbeat. That's exactly like your heartbeat. Yours doesn't go da da da. It goes love, 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 love. That means it's taking some in and putting some out. Sometimes the woman don't love me. Yes, but I'm just crazy about that woman. Yes, I sure can't stand it. Leave me. You know it ain't but the one thing Billy make me pause to drink. I guess worried about how you treat me, babe, and I begin to think, oh, babe, my life don't feel the same. Now you know you break my heart when you call Mr. So-and-so's name. Break my heart now. goodbye. I will shake your hand goodbye. I can't give you no more, my loving war child, and I sure can't be satisfied.
You resurrected something there.
Well, you know, in order to do something like this, you have to make a study of that person's style. Just like if I was going to sing Bach, if I was going to sing, and I did sing Bach in graduate school, you have to learn all the notes. You have to put them in the right place. You have to learn where the words fit with the notes, because the words and those consonant clusters and all that is what makes the rhythm work in a Bach aria. I'm telling you. I ain't telling you what I heard, now I'm telling you what I know. Okay? And then once you get that learned, then you got to be ready to sing it without anybody playing your part. Because when you stand up there to sing with the orchestra's going, and they're not even playing what you're singing. So you got your own part to fit in with the ensemble. And then if you just sing it and give a good reading of the notes, then you're not really singing that piece of music. All you're doing is singing the notes. You got to sing the music. You understand what I'm saying? So study Robert Johnson's style, and you can. It's like you communicate with Robert Johnson when you learn that. You figure out he's doing. You just go. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, you know, that apocryphal story, but maybe there might be some truth in it. You know, selling the soul at the crossroads to have the
No, that ain't true. I know two places where you can go online and you can buy somebody teaching you how to play that. If that's selling your soul to the devil, it costs $29.99, and you can download it to your very own computer, and you get music to go with it. You get tablature to go with it, and if that's what's called selling your soul to the devil, then you're gonna make it so. But just show me your soul so we can sell it. That's what I'm saying. Anyway.
However, the point of that is,
That's what I wrote to the preacher.
No. I'm a folklorist. I help, the preacher connect you. Really, the key is though that he stayed alive through folks like you. That's what being a tradition bearer is, being an archive, a living archive of what people have done before. You're passing it down, you're making, stamping it into your own soul, but you're also taking part of what came before, right?
Right, that's great.
So, we talked about that function, about why people do what they do. And a guitar, you might look at that guitar and say, well, that's a fairly, it's a fairly simple, fairly easy to find instrument. But for a lot of people, it wasn't. The diddley bow, and also hand bow, kind of come out of a tradition where you have, where even a guitar would be a luxury.
Yeah, what you're saying is correct. The first instrument is actually the human body and human voice, and the enslaved people that were brought over here, everything was taken away from them, and they mixed them up amongst the other cultures so that they wouldn't all be able to speak the same language, so that they would have to learn English. But you can't keep people from making music, and everybody brings their body with them. And so I've asked people in Europe when I was there last summer if they knew of this kind of tradition ever being in their in their part of the world, and they said that ham bone tradition is not there anywhere. Where does the ham bone come from? You know what I'm talking about, ham bone, where you, all that stuff there? Okay, well, why do they call it the ham bone? Okay, when the enslaved people lived in a community of houses that were built for them to live in on a particular place. And so somebody would get the ham bone, and let's say that the Snowdens got the ham bone tonight, and then they would take the ham bone and put it in beans, and they would make beans. And so then the next night, they would give the ham bone to the Gunthers. And the Gunthers would make some kind of stew. Well, all the stuff, the spices and everything that came from the beans would go into the stew via the ham bone. And then you pass that around, and it's in greens one night, and one night it's in gumbo. And so it's a shared gathering of culture is what the ham bone is. And so I did this to teach it to children. And so I put a song with it that doesn't really go with it, but y'all can help me sing it. Can I get a witness? Y'all can help me sing it. So blues is call and response music. I'll call, it's like church, the preacher says, let us pray. Y'all say, okay, or whatever y'all say in church. It's like responsive reading, right? So I put this little thing with it to make it easy to help out with it. I'll sing. Ham bone, where you been?
Ham bone, where you been?
Pretty close, pretty close. I got rhythm. You got a little faster up there. Ham bone, where you been?
Ham bone, where you been?
Around the world and going in.
Around the world and going in.
Ham bone, what you see?
Ham bone, what you see?
A monkey in the mirror looking back at me.
Monkey in the mirror looking back at me.
Ham bone,
Ham bone,
ham bone,
ham bone,
ham bone,
ham bone,
ham bone.
ham bone.
Don't try that at home. Ham bone, where you been?
Ham bone, where you been?
Around the world and I'm going again.
Around the world and going again.
Took a little walk by the railroad track.
Took a little walk by the railroad
I
track.
saw my baby, now I'm back.
Saw my baby, now I'm back.
Ham bone,
Ham bone,
ham bone,
ham bone,
ham bone,
ham bone,
ham bone.
ham bone.
All right, this one I call the knee bone. Remember this. Never let your mother brush your hair when she's mad. This is the windshield wipers. This is a lawnmower. Y'all remember that lawnmower? Anybody ever cut the grass with one of those kind of lawnmowers? This is the part you don't try at home. Okay. You ready? Everybody say E. And you go E. Right. Got it? E. Got it? E. You go. You got E. I. O. 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 E. Believe it or not, that's really not that hard to do. I said believe it or not. How many of you believe it is easy? Nobody believes it's easy? Well, it really is. You know what? You know how I learned how to really do the whole thing? One of those videos. I sold my soul to the devil. $29.95. I think that was actually $15.95. It's a David Holt video, and he collected all that kind of stuff. He also shows you how to play spoons, which is another thing for another time.
Spoons are great.
Yes, spoons are great. And I had a friend that gave me a great huge hunk of mahogany wood, and so I got the guy that carves the carousels in Chattanooga. I think his name was Abe. I got him to make me 2 sets of spoons. I have a set of bass spoons. They're real big and real thick. And then I have a set of tenor spoons that are not quite so big. And they're really interesting. They always get a kick whenever you're playing with. I play with the back porch band something. Okay, now I had to plug this one in because it's not very loud. This is an instrument that I made several of these out of cigar. You just take a cigar box, take a piece of poplar wood, and you figure out how long you want to make it. And then you mount that to the top of it, and you put a pickup in it so that you can plug it in and make it louder. And then, I probably shouldn't tell you this so y'all will really think I'm a genius, but I'm going to tell you, where is that thing? There it is. Y'all think I'm a genius, but it's not. So on the side of it, I have these dots are where the pentatonic minor scale is. So then that means when I play slide with this, I know where the scale is all the time. Well, I should. And so what you have to do with a diddly bow, Bo Diddley got his name from a diddly bow, just turn the words around. So you make a sound on it by playing down on it. But if you play down, I now play with my fingers because I just don't play with picks except for a thumb pick. Then you have to come back. If you do this all the time, it's not very interesting to listen to. Or it is for a while. So if you play down, you play back up. And that gets something going, right? Gets something going. But even that is boring after a while. So if you start the sound, then you can stop it by taking one finger from your left hand and putting it on the string. It stops it from vibrating. That's what makes it stop. So you get. That's not really hard. I was that guy in the 7th grade that did that. My wife said it was like being married to a 7th grader. So you get this, and then you have to change the pitch. Now that's cool, I don't care who you are. And the secret is between the notes that you play an open string so that people think you're playing. I shouldn't be telling you all this. Y'all should be saying, golly. Okay, and then once you get this kind of thing going, there's always more to it. That's not easy. But it just takes a little practice is all that takes. Okay, so this is a song that I wrote for the diddly bow, and I think I finished this up right after I moved to Natchez. I'm not sure. I was kind of working on this. Then it ended up that we put this on I recorded in 2012 before I moved. We put this on the Tricentennial CD. We're going to get to the middle of this thing. I'll say, cornbread. You say cornbread, 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 cornbread. Okay, y'all got it. See, everybody's a 7th grader on the inside. Okay. I saw my baby walking down the street, man, she looked so fine. Every time she wear that little black dress, you know what's on my mind. I'm talking about a cornbread, 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 cornbread. cornbread. Nice at my baby's house. I'm talking about your cornbread. Your cornbread. Your cornbread. That's what I'm talking about. You know, I went back to my baby's house and I stood right there in the kitchen. There's a secret to a man's stomach is to his heart. Not exactly right. Anyway, I told her, I said, look here, baby. You can fix me some black-eyed peas and some of your greens and greens. You gonna fix a plate for me, fix me some cornbread, please. I'm talking about your cornbread. Your cornbread. Your cornbread. It's at my baby's house. I'm talking about cornbread. Cornbread. Your cornbread. That's what I'm talking about. Play the blues, Junior. I went to my grandma's house, you know, when I said, Grandma? She said, what, boy? She always called me boy. She never called me by. I didn't know I had a name. Grandma said, what, boy? I said, Grandma, how do you make that cornbread with that great big crust on it? I mean, you know, I'm talking about that crust like an inch thick. It seemed like to me anyway. Tastes good. Ooh, eat that with buttermilk. She said, to make that cornbread and fix it right, you got to make it in a black iron skillet. Mother white cornmeal and an egg, and you got to put some buttermilk in it. I'm talking about your cornbread. Your cornbread. Your cornbread. There's that in my baby's house. I'm talking about your cornbread. Your cornbread. Your cornbread. That's what I'm talking about.
It doesn't matter who you are, that was cool. You know, I think about, you know, the blues being there's some kind of instinctive enjoyment that we get from the blues. And you know, these young people, it doesn't matter today or whatever today is, they're going to find that instinctual love for it. You know, the Rolling Stones, the Led Zeppelin, they caught that train and they ran with it. But you know, the White Stripes, you know, Jack White said that he dressed him in makeup in this red and white outfit just to distract people that they were playing the blues, because he said it was so obvious to them. But you know, he wanted to trick them into thinking that they were playing rock and roll.
Well, one of the things that's visceral about it that you don't realize is that if you go to your doctor and they take your blood pressure and they take your pulse, and if your resting heart rate is above 60, then you have some kind of a problem. You either don't get enough exercise, or you overeat, or you may have some intrinsic problem that needs to be addressed by the doctor. Now, if you take aerobic exercise, then they get you up to 120 beats a minute, which is exactly 2 times what your resting heart rate is. And 120 is what all of the armed services march at. That's 120. Or if you get really fast music, it's 160. So it's some kind of multiple of that. So slow blues is 60, that's that navel rubbing music, you know. And that fast music where you get down and boogie, it's going to be up at 120. It's all tied in together.
I want to quote you, Lori, one of the best musicians of any generation, not my generation, a little before me, but
All right.
it is easier for a camel to pass in the eye of a needle than for a rich man to make a blues record. What is he talking about?
Well, some people say that you can't play the blues unless you suffer, and you think of somebody who has a lot of money as somebody that has not suffered. That may or may not be true. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, somehow or another, everybody's suffered. And so that's what makes it something you can identify with. The people may not say the blues is their favorite kind of music, but you play a slow blues song right in the middle of a set in a nightclub, or in let's say at the pub or at Maglio or something like that. You play that blues song right in the middle of everything, everybody starts going. Get that look on your face, like that monkey look, you know what I'm talking about. Blues gets to the monkey bone, y'all. Everybody's got it, and there's something that the beat just goes there, and you got to do something about it. I call that you can help yourself music.
So the blues is a kind of substitute then. The blues is something's wrong in our lives, and the blues comes in to fill that hole and to give us something, a way to shout it out, a way to get it out without letting it immolate us inside.
Right. And a lot of music that you hear seems like that it's male oriented, because a lot of times the singers are male. But the largest blues audience is female. That's true. The largest blues audience is female. Blues is universal. You can sing about whatever the problem is, whatever is happening with you, and all you got to do is just change one word to she or me. You just say me. Me is you, whoever you are.
I want to quote someone else that you might be surprised to hear me quoting, Henry Rollins. The blues is losing someone you love and not having enough money to immerse yourself in drink.
That may be true too. I do know that if something like that happens to you, then you who was it? It was Terry Harmonica Bean, the guy that I met up at Augusta Heritage Center, and also went to see him at his house in Pontotoc to see what he could do to teach me to play some blues. He said, blues is a botheration on your mind. That's good. It's a botheration on your mind.
There's something really cool that happens in the blues with our sense of our interior space, our sense of where we're at. Because, I mean, if you play it right and if you hear enough songs together, they form this kind of cavalcade of emotion. Are we in a field working under horrible circumstances? Are we in the church?
Oh, yeah.
Are we in the bedroom alone when we shouldn't be?
Yeah, well.
But it's something kind of strange because it's almost all three at once.
I got invited to the black churches to sing, and I would do spirituals and play harmonica with the band. To thunderous applause. I mean, the spirit, my wife Sharon is the one that told me that the root word for spirit and the root word for breath in Latin, maybe Latin or Greek, but I think it's Greek, are the same word. So if you're sharing breath, if we're all in the choir sharing breath, or here in this place sharing breath, we're also sharing the spirit. And music is the spirit. If the spirit's not here, it ain't much music. It doesn't have to be, it can be whatever spirit, but the spirit is here. And that communal thing is what unites us in a piece of music. Just if you sing, that's one thing, but if you just go, and you agree with what's going on, then that's another way. We're all sharing and doing the same thing.
I have a quick question. This is not something you can answer. Are the blues, do they work as a catharsis?
Ooh.
I mean, does it ever simply open a door to make it worse? You play the blues long enough, you go, oh boy, now I'm worse than when I started. Or I always feel bad.
If you feel worse than when you started playing the blues, you ain't doing it right. No, it is a catharsis. I mean, it's kept me this sane, whatever this is. It depends on who you talk to, but it's kept me this sane. I mean, it'll get you through times, that other things won't do that. I mean, you know yourself, if you don't feel well, if something's bothering you, then you can put music on your record player, or sit down at your piano or your guitar, whatever, and you can play that music. You can listen to Scarlatti, and it makes you feel better. You can listen to, there ain't no bad Mozart either. You can listen to Mozart. If that doesn't make you feel better, you need to go to the doctor and get a shot. B12 something.
You went down to Yazoo, Mississippi, because there were some bluesmen you wanted to talk to, but you went down, this is really interesting to me, that you got this Lyndhurst Foundation grant to go and talk to those guys. And the idea was that, well, you got a Lyndhurst Foundation grant that basically the parameters were that you should go learn so that it would make you a better educator.
Right.
Okay. You obviously had this sense that you wanted to study the blues, but there was something that you wanted to take back with you up to Baylor to teach those kids up there. What were you hoping to learn from those guys that you could impart to your students?
Well, blues music is the first truly American music. Before that, everything was drawn from European tradition, either in harmony, and also the melodies were. When blues came along, it changed everything that came after it. It changed classical music, it changed popular music, ragtime music, it changed church music, it changed everything. Soul music grew out of that. Every music has been influenced by blues, and if you can understand the blues and then talk to somebody about singing that and get something out of them and reach it into a place that they can interpret a piece of music that you're trying to sing to the choir. They can understand it. You can make them understand that, the words to it, and you can make them understand it. When you get to this one particular passage in the music, when you get to this chord right here, it's got to stack up like that, and it's got to be that wide and that fat, and the groove's got to be there, and the same groove, you've got to sing the same groove if you're singing Brahms, or if you're singing Lead Belly, you still got to have a groove, and then all those chords have to, it's just music. You have to learn how to phrase. Phrase has an origin, it has a destination, and then it has a point where you release the phrase and you start the next phrase. You can learn all of that studying other kinds of music, especially for me, blues is, it feeds my soul.
Come on to my kitchen.
So this is tuned to a chord. This is tuned to G. And just like you did with the diddly bow, you play chords. This is one of those songs that you really have to learn this song if you're going to play slide guitar or the way that I want to play. But this is a Robert Johnson song that was that's enough. This is a call and response. So I give the guitar. Fred McDowell, Mississippi Fred McDowell was the one who's slide guitar player. He said, "I made the guitar say what I say." So they're call and responses between the player and the guitar. You better come in my kitchen, 'cause it's going to be raining and I'm woman I love stole from my best friend. I joke and got lucky, stole her back again. You better come on in my kitchen, 'cause it's going to be raining out. Well, the time is coming, and it's gonna be so. Can't make it winter, baby, just cry along so. Now you better go in my kitchen, 'cause it's gonna be raining. Now you better come on. In my kitchen, 'cause it's gonna be raining now.
We are so lucky to have you. Think about that. Ed lives here. Wow. You put Natchitoches on the map even more.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. Somebody's got to play this stuff, you know. It's just me.
Well, you know, it reminds me of Eric Clapton. He said that, he's feeding out of the same trough. When all the original blues guys are gone, you start to realize that someone has to tend to the tradition. I recognize that I have some responsibility to keep the music alive, and it's a pretty honorable position to be in.
I hadn't thought about that.
Well, time to start thinking about it. Do we have some questions from the audience?
Yes.
Two questions. One, since you're going to be honorary chair of the festival next year, will you be able to hook me up with free tickets?
I have connections. I also have a fat check, brother. I'm probably going to give him 3 tickets.
And secondly, I know you're a working musician. Would you like to make the money? Would you like the money that you earned from the gig that you played right before you came over here? This is how it works, y'all, in the real world.
Yeah. I knew I'd get it sometime, but I didn't think it'd be today. I know I'm going to add you I can now go through the drive-through. All right, that was 2. Nobody has another question?
Well, I'm curious about whether or not you have a gospel song in your repertoire, because you talked about the overlap. And I'd be interested in hearing how you do a gospel.
We got down with that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, Robert Patton sometimes would be playing the blues in a juke joint, and people would be dancing and tearing it up, and he literally would stop and start playing gospel songs and play them for a while, and people would still listen. They wouldn't leave, even though he was doing something somewhat incongruous. That spirit of that magnetism, that blues energy held him there. We have time.
All right, I haven't really played any solo harmonica, but this is my take on Fred McDowell, You Got to Move. And this is another one of those call and response things, so if y'all felt led to call or to respond when I'm getting through calling, then you need to do that. This is not difficult. It just needs to be direct. You got to move. You got to move. You got to move. You got to move. When the Lord gets ready, you got to move. You got to move. You got to move. You got to move. rich. You may be poor. But when the Lord gets ready, you got to move. 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 Now when the Lord gets ready, you got to move. I was what David Strong called me a step member of the St. Paul AME Church. The band that played, y'all know about the Impressions? You ever heard of the Impressions? The famous group from the 50s and 60s? Well, the Impressions are from Chattanooga. And the band, y'all, that played for the Impressions went to St. Paul AME. So when I got to go to that church and play harmonica with that band, it was something, y'all. So when I sang You Got to Move, we had people jumping up over pews. One time, I'm going to tell this story, and I'm telling more stories maybe. I was getting ready to come, we have a thing called putting on the glitz. Okay, so the people that were in the choir, they were all accomplished singers. And they could sing any style of music. There were probably 50 people in the choir. And when they sang Jesus music, it moved all the furniture back in the whole place. It blow your hair back. Okay, so I had to go to the restroom before it was my time to go on stage, and I was standing way yonder at the back. And so the group that was up there singing was doing some Aretha Franklin songs, and the Doo-Wop Sisters is what the ladies call themselves. And they had their wigs on, and they were doing this. And I thought, my Lord, I got to follow that. How am I going to do that? And I knew I was going to sing You Got to Move. Well, the band always, when somebody introduces somebody, there's never quiet in the AME church because there's music going on. So the band starts playing You Got to Move in the background. Well, I walked through that door, and I started going. And I went down the aisle and I played with this one and I played with that right, and it brought me a microphone so everybody could hear it. By the time I got down to the front, Lord have mercy. I mean, it was a pandemonium. People jumping over the pews, they were ready to sing. I mean, I could have taken up a collection and then gotten rid. Anyway, that's the power even of a harmonica. 10-hole diatonic harmonica.
Any further questions, guys? Anything else? We can't close without talking about one final song which we need to have you play. The training song.
Oh, okay. My teacher, my mentor is Joe Falisco, and I studied harmonica with him at the Augusta Heritage Center. A friend of mine in Chattanooga, I asked him where I could actually hook up with somebody that could really work with me with harmonica, and he said that I need to go to Augusta Heritage Center. So I did, and it turns out that Joe Falisco is the foremost authority on early harmonica music in the world. He's also a Hohner artist. I have a couple of Hohner Thunderbird harmonicas, and his name is on the harmonica, as the one that designed the particular harmonica. So he said, and he kept saying, well, you have to learn to play the train. And I thought, I don't want to play the train, I want to play Little Walter. Or I want to play Big Walter, or I want to play Son Walter, I want to do all. So he said the secret to learning how to play harmonica, like if you play any wind instrument, is to master the breathing. He said the best breathing exercise is the train exercise. And I said, man, that can't be. I want more a little longer. And he said, if you try this. So what you do, because the harmonica is built, you can play notes if you exhale, a different set of notes if you inhale. Invented in the 1830s. The steam train came out not too long after that. So, because I could go, when you give a harmonica to your children, they hear this. And that's why there's no harmonicas in your house. Either that or they're all up at the top of your mama's closet. Just like the batteries to all those nasty toys that make those beep, 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 beep. The batteries at your daddy's closet and the toys in your mama's closet. So anyway. So what you do is you inhale 2 times. Your doctor never asks you to do that. They always say, hold your breath. Or exhale 2 times. And do that in succession. And you put a space in between them. And then you can do this. Y'all couldn't get a job working with no train. On the board, okay, or something. Does that sound like sympathizers? Ready? The train goes along, you know, till it comes to Mount Eagle Mountain. It's a tall mountain. We're looking for the last car. When the last car gets over, you know, we're going to coast down the other side. Passes other trains that are going back to Nashville, you know, going west. That T&P train sound like this. Pass that B and N. Catch that ICG, you know. Catch that Santa Fe. Pass the B and N. that trestle, you know, that goes across the Tennessee River. You hear that train echo all across the valley. Come to that tunnel to Raccoon Mountain. Y'all ready for the tunnel? Y'all ready for the tunnel? There's a Model D car. A train coming in the station in Chattanooga. Chattanooga Station, all out this way.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Huey, Louisiana tradition girl.